Arbor Day. Arbor Day is a day where we celebrate trees and everything that they do for us and the environment. So today, with permission of HarperCollins Children's Books, I'm going to read you The Gift of the Tree by Alvin Tresselt, illustrated by Henry Sorensen. It stood tall in the forest. For 100 years or more, the oak tree had grown and spread its shade. Birds nested in its shelter. Squirrels made their homes in ragged bundles of sticks and leaves held high in the branches. And in the fall, they garnered their winter food from the rich rain of acorns that fell from the tree. Tucked under its gnarled roots, small creatures found safety from the fox and the owl. Slowly, slowly, over the years, the forest soil increased as the brown, leathery leaves, shaken down by the autumn winds, moldered under the snow. But even as the tree grew, life gnawed at its heart. Carpenter ants tunneled through the strength of the oak. Termites ate out passageways in the wondrous patterns. And a broken limb let the dusty spores of fungus enter the heartwood of the tree, and a rot spread inside the healthy bark. Year by year, the tree grew weaker as its enemies worked. Each spring, fewer and fewer leaves unfolded, and its great reaching branches turned gray with death. Woodpeckers peppered the limbs with holes, looking for the tasty grubs and beetles that had tunneled the wood. And here and there, they dug bigger holes to hold their babies. In winter storms, one by one, the great branches broke and crashed to the floor of the forest until there remained only the proud trunk, holding its broken arms up to the sky. Now it was autumn, and the days were long and lazy, yellow-gray and misty mornings, middays filled with false summer warmth, and nights pierced with frost. Then came a day of hurricane wind and slashing rain, and as the fierce wind shrieked through the forest, the tree trunk split and crashed to the ground. There it lay, shattered, with only a jagged stump to mark where it had stood for so long. The cruel days of winter followed. A family of deer mice settled into the hole that had once held an arching branch. A rabbit found protection from the biting wind in the rotted center of the trunk. And the ants and termites, the dormant grubs, and silent fungus waited out the winter under the bark and deep in the wood. In the spring, the young sun warmed the forest floor, and acorns sprouted to replace the fallen giant. Now new life took over the dead tree. Old woodpecker holes made the snug homes for chipmunks. The hollow center of the trunk sheltered a family of raccoons, while beneath the bark spread the wood-eating fungus, ghost white and sulfur yellow. And deep inside, the carpenter ants and the termites continued their digging and eating. On the trunk, where the tree lay half buried in the damp and musty leaf loam, the mosses stitched a green carpet, softer than the softest wool. Fragile ferns nested in its shadow, mushrooms popped out of the decaying mold, and clumps of creamy white Indian pipes clustered together, drawing nourishment from the rich loam. The years passed, and the hardwood grew soft and punky. It crawled with 100,000 grubs and beetles, centipedes with their scrambling, scurrying legs, and snails and slugs all fed on the rotting wood. And earthworms made their way through to the feast, helping to turn the tree once more into earth. Pale shell fungus clung to the sides like clusters of giant clamshells, eating away and growing as the tree decayed. A skunk came waddling by with her string of babies. Sniffing at the wood, she ripped into its softness with her claws to uncover the scrambling life inside, and eagerly the family feasted. Secretive forest birds scratched and picked for the grubs and worms, pulling the tree apart bit by bit, while the melting winter snows and soft spring rains hastened the rotting of the wood. And in this way, as new trees grew in strength from acorns that had fallen long years ago, the great oak returned to the earth. On the ground there remained only a brown ghost of richer loam where the proud tree had come to rest. Thank you for reading with me, and I hope that you can go and enjoy your favorite tree outside someday soon. Happy Arbor Day.
Hello, it's Emily with Lowell Parks and Conservation Trust. Today we are going to be exploring the history of botanical illustration, flower formulas, and also creating a plant portrait of Solomon seal.
For centuries, botanical illustration and science have gone hand in hand. The earliest known depictions of plants have roots that trace back to ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia. These depictions are estimated to be about 4,000 years old. Aristotle and his pupil Theophrastus were known to be some of the first people to study the medicinal properties of plants systematically. Though no manuscripts from that era survive today, writers of the time cite the colored works of Critias, a Greek physician. Because of this, Critias has come to be considered the father of botanical illustration. The oldest lasting manuscript is called the Codex Vindobonensis from 512 AD. It was made in Constantinople for the daughter of the Emperor of the Byzantium. The book is believed to be mainly consisting of copies of earlier drawings from the aforementioned Critias. I know what you're thinking. Wow, such an old history. These drawings up until the invention of the camera were the main way for scientists to depict plants they studied. Horticulturalists, botanists, physicians, taxonomists are just a few of the disciplines that utilize botanical illustrations in their science. Now here's the big question. What if someone didn't have a few hours to sit down and draw a detailed depiction of a plant in the field? What if you weren't an artist? There is and was an alternative method to recording information about plants called the flower formula. The flower formula was first used in the early 19th century in a textbook to describe the characteristics of floral families. The number following the letter K was for the amount of sepals on the calyx. Following the letter C was the amount of petals on the corolla. Following the letter A was the amount of stamens, and lastly, following the letter G was the ovary with how many carpels inside. There are a handful of rules. One of the most common is that if the number is greater than 12, you write an infinity symbol. And for the position of the ovary, you make a line either above or below the G. Here is a flower formula for a flower very common in Lowell. Any guesses? This is the flower formula for a buttercup. The calyx has 5 sepals, corolla has 5 petals, the androecium has many stamens, greater than 12, so we say infinity. The ovary, which will be superior, has many carpels, greater than 12, so we also say infinity. Today, botanical illustration still plays a big part in science. Plates are botanical illustrations with multiple figures, all labeled, that show the components of a plant throughout its life cycle. These plates usually include cross-sections or dissections. This effect is hard to achieve in a single photograph. Plant portraits like this one of Solomon's seal are also valuable additions to ID books. There have been many influential botanical illustrators over the years, many not only informing scientists, but also inspiring other artists. As a scientist, I personally love botanical illustration because it is so irrevocably tied with botany. You can't have one without the other. I hope you enjoyed learning a bit about the history of botanical illustration with me. See you next time!
Hi everyone, it's Katie from the Lowell Parks and Conservation Trust. Today I'm going to show you a quick activity that you and the family can do at home. We're going to be making toilet paper roll binoculars. All you need are a piece of string or yarn, 2 toilet paper rolls, either a glue gun, Elmer's glue, or a stapler, and some tape. I'm choosing a glue gun just because it's what I have. I actually don't have a stapler in my house, but if you wanted to use the stapler method, all you would have to do is pinch them these two together, and staple here and here. So I'm going to just glue them. There we go. Now I pre-painted mine. You can do this before or after you assemble them, but I decided to do it before. Once those are fastened there, you can take your string or your yarn, and you can either glue this, tape this, you can even poke a hole through and tie it. I'm just going to be taping mine. This is going to be our lanyard. One there. And one here. And you're good to go. It's really easy. You and the family can go outside on a scavenger hunt, and it's really fun to see how much your perspective changes once you're looking through this lens. I can't wait to see what you all make, and let me know what you find. Thank you.
Hello, it's Emily with Lowell Parks and Conservation Trust. In today's video, we will be doing a flower dissection activity using this lily right here. We will be looking at all of its component parts from petal to pistil, and we will also be going outside into some of our beautiful natural areas in Lowell and looking at some of the flowers in bloom there. For this activity, you'll need a blank piece of paper, tweezers if you don't want to get your hands dirty, scissors, a writing utensil, and of course, a flower. I would recommend using a lily for this activity because its component parts are very clear. The first part of the plant we're going to identify is the leaf. Leaves provide food for the plant through a process called photosynthesis and breathe in air through pores called stomata. Next, we're going to identify the sepals. Sepals protect the plant when it's in bud and typically look green and leaf-like, but in the case of the lily, they look very similar to the petals. Here is a picture of the sepals before the lily bloomed. Next, we are going to identify the petals of the lily. Petals are actually modified leaves that are brightly colored to attract pollinators. What we are left with are the reproductive parts of the plant. Now it's time to remove the stamens. The stamens are made up of the green filament that supports the anther. The anther holds the pollen for the plant. As a whole, the stamen is considered the male reproductive part of the plant. What we are left with is the pistil, or the female reproductive parts of the plant. Before we move on, let's take a closer look at that pollen. Pollen is what's picked up by different pollinators as they go from plant to plant collecting nectar. This is how most plants get fertilized. Pollen comes in all shapes and sizes. Let's go even closer and check out the shape of this lily pollen. The pistil has three parts, the first being the stigma. The stigma is where the pollen germinates and can be hairy or sticky to trap that pollen. In this case, our stigma is a little bit sticky. Underneath the stigma is the style. The style acts as a highway for pollen. Pollen collected in the stigma travels through the style and fertilizes the ovules in the ovary. This light green part above the stem is the ovary. The fertilized ovules inside the ovary will eventually turn into seeds. Let's review and label our flower components together. Be careful not to mix up your petal and sepal like I almost did. Once you're done labeling your parts, try drawing them so you can have a flower dissection that lasts forever. Let's take a look at some of the flowers and their component pieces growing at our conservation land at Nicole Drive. Here we have a buttercup, which has a great example of some more leaf-like sepals growing underneath the petals. Don't get confused by flowers like the clover flower, which is actually a dense spike of many small flowers. What may look like just a single petal actually has all the component pieces we just talked about. Thank you so much for joining me for this flower dissection video. If you end up doing this activity, please send us at Lowell Parks and Conservation Trust your final dissections.
Hi everyone, happy April. This is Katie from the Lowell Parks and Conservation Trust, and with April, I'd like to introduce our next challenge. For each day this month, we've created a nature prompt to get you outside and nature journaling. Now, these prompts are just suggestions, and you can use them as literally as you'd like, or you can just use them to inspire you to get outside and practice nature journaling. I have a lot of fun nature journaling. It helps me relax and enjoy the beautiful weather that spring is bringing. Now, I just wanted to share with you a couple tips I have for nature journaling, and most importantly, I want you to have fun. Now, this means that you don't have to draw or paint if you don't want to. You can journal in any way that you would like. This could be bullet points, this could be storytelling, this could be poetry. It's up to you. Next, I want you to make sure that you're safe. Check your surroundings before you hunker down and get writing, because I know that once I get writing, I can really get in the zone. So make sure that the area you're in is safe for you to sit down and enjoy yourself. Next, we are being scientists. We're collecting data over time. And what helps me keep track of this data is if I write down the date, the weather, the time that I'm recording, the temperature outside. Any of these details can help me down the road and make further connections, which is really fun. Now, lastly, everyone, I want you to remember that nature journaling is completely up to your creativity. So there's no pressure with nature journaling. Just have fun, get outside, and take a moment to enjoy the beautiful things that are around us every day. The first challenge of the month is for April Fool's Day. April Fool's Day makes me laugh and smile, so I want you to journal something that makes you laugh and smile. I can't wait to see what you all find. Please tag us in the photos you share and in the posts, and we'd love to share with each other. Thank you. Bye-bye.